This is St. Margaret Episcopal Church. It was built in Fleming Island in Florida in 1875 to 1878. St. Margaret's Episcopal Church was built in the Carpenter Gothic style, one of the oldest wooden churches remaining in Florida. It features a prominent chimney on the liturgical west wall. The church was financed by Margaret Fleming, who died shortly before the completion in 1878, and her funeral was the first service held in the church. Margaret's father-in-law, George Fleming, and his wife, Sophia Facio, received a Spanish land grant and owned a 1,000-acre orange plantation, which they called Hibernia, the Latin word for Ireland, from which George had immigrated. George died in 1821 and left the plantation to his son, Colonel Louis Fleming. Louis met his first wife, Augustine Cortez, in Cuba. She was a descendant of the famous Spanish conquistador, Hernan Cortez. They had 3 children, but Augustina died, giving birth to their third child in 1832. George married Margaret Seton of Fernandina in 1837, and they had 7 children together. Louis served as a colonel in the Florida Militia Cavalry and served in the Second Seminole Wars, where he was severely wounded. During the Civil War, the Fleming sons served for the Confederate Army. Charles Seton Fleming was killed at the Battle of Cold Harbor in 1864. Margaret and her daughters were accused of being spies for the Confederacy and were expelled from Hibernia. The Great House at Hibernia was built by Louis Fleming and his wife, Margaret, in 1856 to 1857. The plantation house was ransacked by the Union Army during the Civil War, but the family returned and rebuilt. The historic St. Margaret Cemetery. So some very old graves here. This is George Fleming, born in 1760, died in 1821, and his wife Sophia Facio, born in 1765, died in 1848. On the left is the grave of Margaret Fleming, born in 1813, died in 1878. In the middle is Louis Fleming, born in 1798, died in might be 1842, and on the right is Augustina Cortez Fleming, the wife of Louis Fleming, and she lived from 1806 to 1832. Very old graves in this part of the cemetery. On the right is the grave of Frederick Alexander Fleming, born in 1845 and died in 1917. On the left is Matilda Fleming McRae, born in 1849, passed away in 1922. And in between is Frederick Alexander Fleming, born in 1893, died in 1945. This is the grave of Gouverneur W. Armstrong. He was born in New York, 1830, passed away in 1899. This is the grave of John Nielsen, born in New York in 1838, passed away in 1903. The grave of Augustus Baldwin, born in New Jersey, 1825, and passed away in 1899. This cross is the grave of Mary Pryor Baldwin, born in 1822, died in 1903. In the foreground is the Biddle family plot. This is Frederick Fleming Biddle, born in 1915, died less than a year old in 1916. Margaret Seton Biddle, born on Easter in 1909, passed away in 1918, age of 9. Henry Canby Biddle, born in 1880, died in 1937. Margaret Seton Fleming Biddle, born in 1887, died in 1980. And Henry Canby Biddle Jr., born in 1911, passed away in 1986. This is the grave of Caroline Seton Clark, born in 1815, passed away in 1895. On the left is John D. Floyd. He died in 1878, only 2 years old. And on the right is Susie Floyd. She died in 1876, also age 2. This tiny grave belongs to Floyd, and the outside of that, the writing is illegible. This is the grave of Davis Floyd. He served in the 2nd Florida Cavalry for the Confederate States of America. It's the grave of Alida May Long Mahoney, and she served as the state regent from 1909 to 1911. There are many wooden crosses in this cemetery.